Funding for Overheard with Evan Smith is provided in part by Hilco Partners, Texas Government Affairs Consultancy and its Global Healthcare Consulting Business Unit, Hilco Health, and by the Matson McHale Foundation in support of public television, and also by MFI Foundation, improving the quality of life within our community, and also by the Alice Clayburgh Reynolds Foundation. And viewers like you, thank you.
I'm Evan Smith. This week, he was a political satirist when Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert were still in short pants. And he was angry at the establishment when Sarah Palin was still reading basketball scores on the local news. The former editor of National Lampoon, a regular panelist on Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. He's the author of more than a dozen books, including the New York Times bestsellers Give War a Chance and Parliament of Whores. His new book, Don't Vote, It Just Encourages the Bastards, was published this fall. He's P.J. O'Rourke. This is Overheard.
Is that a vote you'd like to have back now? Because you're a judge or a justice in your case doesn't mean that you're free of personal opinions about them.
You have a dimmer view of him than you have of presidents past.
So when they take your name in vain, you just laugh it off. For the larger issue, though, in your mind, is that it's not about whether there ought to be a death penalty, but whether the death penalty as administered is fair.
PJ, great to see you.
Great to be here.
So the title of the book actually has an origin. There's somebody behind this expression that you've used.
Dick Tuck, who was he's still alive, he's in his 80s, was a political frontman and campaign organizer for the Kennedys back in the 60s. He worked for John. He was particularly close to Bobby. He was a good friend of mine. Dick and I didn't agree on politics much, but we enjoyed each other's company. Very funny guy. And Dick said that when he first got involved in politics, his mother had said that to him.
This came out of his mother's mouth.
His mother's mouth. His very respectable Irish mother said, "Honey, don't vote. It just encourages the bastards."
Right. She was actually, all those years ago, the first member of the Tea Party.
She was.
Yeah, it sounds like to me.
No way.
Do we take this book, the moment of this book being published, as deliberate on your part? In other words, did you think to yourself, this is a time when everybody is railing against the insiders and the establishment, so write a book whose message is essentially screw the establishment?
Well, yes. I mean, to a certain extent, although that's really not the message of the book. I decided what I wanted to do was that, having written about politics for 40 years, I wanted to write something about the principles behind politics. And so partly that's what the book is about. And it's also partly about the conclusion I've come to over 40 years, which is that politics takes up much too much space in our life. I just believe that the scope, the span, the sheer size of politics, and too many things have become political considerations in our life. There's a lot to life in a free country. Politics is only one part of it. And we have come to rely upon politics to make all sorts of decisions that I think are personal and private, and economic decisions, certain moral decisions.
Well, give us an example or two in your own life where you think the government is in your business and should be out of your business.
Well, of course, the biggest example is the amount of our national resources that is controlled by government. Something very close to 1/3 of all the goods and services we produce are under political control. Now, this would be all right, I suppose, in theory, if it weren't for politics being such an idiotic way of deciding things.
Idiotic in the sense of inefficient?
Oh, not so inefficient. I'm not sure the government is any more inefficient than any other large organization. Turned out GM was pretty inefficient.
It seems like
too.
It was, right?
Yes,
yeah, right.
yeah. Not to mention AIG and any number of other, Enron, to take an example close to here. No, it isn't that. It's just, think about, now, of course, I love democracy. We have to have democracy. I support democracy. But imagine if all decisions were made by the democratic process. Imagine if your clothing were selected by the majority of shoppers, which would be teenage girls. Well, Dick Cheney would have spent 2 terms as vice president with his midriff exposed.
These days, and his underwear visible and all that.
It wouldn't have been pretty. Imagine if dinner were decided by family secret ballot. Now, I've got 3 kids and 3 dogs, and we'd be having sugary cereal and spoiled meat, for dinner every night. It's just there's a limit to how much you want politics to intrude upon your life, and America's not the worst example. I mean, the Europeans have this problem more than we do, but still, I think that as a country, as our country, as America, we have reached a limit with this. America was founded with the idea that America was here for individuals to pursue their own dreams, their own goals, their own desires.
Right.
America wasn't created with there's no point to America. There is no goal for America. America doesn't have a mission. The point, the goal, and the mission of America is for people to be free. Now, it was an imperfect founding. Obviously, at the time that America was put together, not everybody was free. And a whole half of the population, one gender, was denied the franchise. So it was very imperfect.
Not to mention several races.
Oh, every race except the white one, and every gender except the male one was excluded from this process. Nonetheless, the idea was there that America was a place to make people free to pursue their own ends. Pursuit of happiness, right there in the Declaration of Independence, right there in our initial product offering. And when you have politics controlling a very large part of your resources, of your goods and services, you cannot achieve that freedom